216 degrees.
And so through the years, we've had some situations where the fire department would be called out because people would see steam coming off the landfill, and or there would actually be fires out there periodically. And so as we're excavating this waste out, we've worked with some landfill fire consultants to make sure we're doing it safely. We're also monitoring the air around the area to make sure that we're going to have particulate getting out to the community. And all of this happens on our campus and stays on our campus, so it's not clogging up the local roads around the area. A lot of folks kind of come by and they go, holy cow, what did they change there? I didn't even realize they were doing anything. And so, to get to the next slide, all of that hot waste is sitting right next to tires. So Central Oregon has a long history of tires, and so as we excavated out this waste, we expected to find about 8,000 cubic yards of tires. We came across 60,000 cubic yards of tires. And so most community members don't realize that we had, that maybe this risk existed a mile and a half outside of downtown Bend. And even today, I mean, as we're doing this work, so we are excavating out those tires, shredding them properly. If you think about a tire and think about that pile, there's a lot of air spaces in there, a lot of voids. When you get that hot, and it happens over time, especially when you have that composting material next to it, you end up with an underground tire fire. And when those happen, which they happen across the country, they are very hard to put out. It's something that just kind of makes a lot of smoke, and the best thing anybody can typically do is put a lot of dirt on top of it to slow it down. They don't typically excavate them out, and they don't typically put them out. So the risk that existed here was pretty dramatic, and I think most folks don't really catch on to that. So we excavated those tires out, shred the tires down to meet EPA and DEQ requirements, re-landfill them properly, basically buried in dirt with, it's like a dirt cake, essentially. So you have 5 feet of soil, 5 feet of soil with the tires in it, and then another 5 feet of soil. So air can't get into it, and also it avoids the ability for it to combust.
Any of those tires, residue, get put into materials that they put on the road, so that they make tracks out of, that sort of thing?
The short answer is yes. The long, complicated answer is it is not cost effective to do so, and they've already broken down enough that a lot of the companies who would typically do that don't want them anymore because they're kind of inconsistent. And so we did look at that. So we re-landfilled those, and you can kind of see that separation process happening here. So looking at sustainability, we're trying to build this campus in a way that is sustainable for the long term, reduces overall maintenance and operations costs, and reduces our utility costs. And so as we're building the campus, we looked at what are the most effective and useful ways to make a sustainable campus. So the number one thing that rose to the top was to make a system that matches what exists already at 7th Mountain. A lot of folks on their way up to the mountain past the 7th Mountain Resort, so they've got a system similar to this. So we're drawing water from the aquifer about 500 feet below the campus. We are then extracting about 5 degrees of temperature off of that water. It comes out at about 50 degrees all year long. So we're able to extract about 5 degrees off of that water in the wintertime and heat our buildings with that. In the summertime, we're able to put about 5 degrees into that water and cool our buildings with that. That makes us about 6 to 7 times more efficient than anything we can do with natural gas for heating, and makes us about half the cost of heating with natural gas, and makes us about a quarter of the cost of cooling with just like kind of typical air conditioning. So that is how we cool 2 of our buildings on campus. The other 3 were built before we started this process, and so they will be retrofitted down the line. Additional buildings will come on and use this system. So this gets to kind of the next phase of development that we're working on. It'll be right in the center of campus here. There's currently a landfill there with about 260,000 cubic yards of waste. So again, starting kind of over the next 6 to 8 months, we will start to excavate that waste out, make a big hole in the ground that goes about 60 feet down, and then fill that hole back up with soil. Again, reusing only components and materials that we have on our campus already. So we're not trucking in giant piles of soil, we're not trucking out large quantities of waste. We're just moving everything around. And we are also getting ready to put solar on all of our buildings right now on the campus so that we can reduce our electricity bill down to almost zero. I think that I went through just about my slides. So this is, these are the two buildings that will be built next. The Shrek, it's kind of a fun name. The Student Health and Recreation Center. One of the things that we hear most from students as they come and look at the campus is, where's the health or the recreation center? It's like one of the main things students look at when they go to any campus. So we feel like once we add this, we'll definitely see a little bit stronger growth in our overall enrollment. That enrollment growth is really critical to making sure the campus can stay alive. As you see with SOU and Eastern Oregon University, we're approaching what a lot of folks in the higher ed area kind of call the enrollment cliff. Or there's essentially around 2008 there was a drop in births in the United States, and so we're seeing that come to the number of folks who are coming to campus right now. And so that's kind of a short answer. So like all of higher ed is seeing this kind of drop that's likely to come. Yeah.
When is the timeline for this?
So we need to do that remediation project first to make that land clean and developable or buildable. We expect that to start, like I said, the next 6 to 8 months, be wrapped up by end of 27, mid 28, and then construction on the building to the right would start then, opening around end of 29 or 30.
Second question.
Yeah.
Unrelated to that, maybe about student life. I mean, do you ever see sports being added at this campus?
Yeah, so with these next projects, we'll be able to add our first fields, again, on top of that landfill area. We have to kind of go through these projects, build that future landfill area, and then we can put the recreation on top of it. So we'll start off with a field that can actually combine probably soccer and a couple other things. We are seeing some, let's see here, previously we've always talked about only doing intramural sports, or kind of recreational sports for students. We've seen a lot of interest, and there's also some enrollment support that can come from doing some Division III sports. So we will never be kind of the main campus with like large sports, but we might be able to do some Division III and compete locally. So yeah, the Health and Recreation Center is our next building. The next residence hall would follow. We think that's probably 2032, 2035 kind of time frame. And then the Innovation District. So Elizabeth asked me, what is the Innovation District? So Oregon State University and kind of Oregon universities overall, I would say, are playing a bit of catch up to a national trend in higher education. So large research universities have typically across the country, if you've ever been back to the Midwest or back to the East Coast, there's like the research triangle that's formed by 3 universities around kind of North Carolina area. There's University of Illinois, Champaign, Urbana. There's a number of large universities back east that had research parks. Research parks over time slowly have turned into innovation districts. The idea or the difference between the two is research parks were typically something where somebody showed up at 8 in the morning, a researcher and or their team would work on things, then they'd leave at 5 p.m. and go home. And there wasn't a lot of cross-discipline interaction between different folks doing things there. A lot of universities have moved something more towards an innovation district model where they're bringing other activities into that research park. So 1, they're bringing housing in, 2, they're bringing food and beverage and commercial retail, so that these become small communities where folks live and actively recreate and hang out, and they're extending the number of hours that folks are out there, and they're seeing cross-discipline interaction between folks maybe doing medical research and an engineer who has a background in microcircuitry. And then you see these two things be able to start to come together in a powerful way. The other thing that a lot of higher education across the country realized is they were doing a lot of basic research, but that wasn't always translating to the marketplace or to So economic development for the region. So innovation districts are typically a way for public institutions to interact with the private sector, bringing maybe a semiconductor manufacturing company onto the campus to coexist with the research that's happening on campus, or maybe in some cases it's cybersecurity. Texas has a large cybersecurity campus. So folks who are youngsters who are getting their degrees in computer science and focusing on cybersecurity are then working alongside the private sector in that sector and learning things, working as interns so that they are ready to be hired in the field. And so the innovation district here that we're working on would have some housing in ID2 and some mixed-use commercial, meaning essentially private sector companies on our campus in the innovation district. So this is actually right on our campus. My office is in the building that you see on the far right-hand side of this. OSU would actually have space in this building as well, so we would be teaching classes in the same building where private sector companies are located and doing some of their research.